What's up, fellas? Happy to see y'all back for another episode of the Blind Pig Podcast, courtesy of BGObsession.com. The pigs are back on a Victory Monday.
Woo-hoo!
We've never had one of these before because usually we don't do this until Wednesday, but we got it. So before we get rolling, we'll do the particulars, obviously pay the bills, or I guess metaphorically speaking. If you're listening to us on audio, please feel free to come join us on YouTube and vice versa. Also, you can catch us on all major socials, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and of course, you can catch us all at bgobsession.com. Site is totally free. Feel free to come around and check it out. We are always welcoming new members. So, John, we had a game this week.
We did have a game, and we got a special treat because we got our, one of our primary chimer inners. Mark is moved to Bavaria for some bizarre reason. But anyway, he's been in Bavaria for about a month now, I think. And he's going to join us, tell us what he thought about things, especially on the offensive side of the ball. So
my reaction to this one is I had to split how I was thinking about the game between the game within the context of winning and losing a football game, which is hard in the NFL, and like the big picture with our team. By the way, this is every time we win, you're subjected to the backwards Dan Quinn hat. I'm sorry about that. We had 7 field goals. We had to set a franchise record, kicking field goals to win a game against a bad team in the Giants. Okay, that's a bad way of looking at it. You can look at that also in terms of you don't get 7 field goal attempts without 7 drives to get down there, because we are not getting starting field position. I haven't had a chance to look yet to see what the average starting position is for our team versus other teams, but it seems like it's been awful. I can't remember us getting the ball on the plus side of the 40, of our own 40, more than once or twice. So kudos on us for getting down there. Kudos on this kid Siebert for setting a franchise record. Hey, and I'm not denigrating the fact that these were short field goals. When's the last time a Washington kicker you were comfortably thought would make 7 straight extra points, much less 7 straight field goals? Dude did. Power to him. Power to Tressway, who otherwise had the day off. No punts, 7 perfect holds. Whoever our long snapper is, good job. And actually, no false starts on any of the field goal attempts. I had 2 main takeaways from the game that I will, spend time talking it all about. Jaden played great. That I'm going to let that one go. The offensive false starts on red zone opportunities was bizarre. 2 or 3 is one thing. 5 is insanity. And I keep trying to figure out why that must have happened. What was different between the 20s and then inside the 20? Because the offensive line played pretty steady down to the red zone. I'm thinking maybe Cliff is changing up the play calling. Maybe there's a little bit of hesitation. Maybe the play selection in the red zone is still limited, or pickups on blitzes are too complex. Something is clearly not quite right there. And I think, frankly, that's the reason why Washington doesn't win this game comfortably, like by 10 or 15 points, which it felt like they should have won by that much given all of the opportunities in the red zone. So we saw a lot of progress from the offense, but the red zone penalties are an absolute killer. That's the only thing I really saw missing offensively. Run game, kicked ass. Play calling between the 20s, kicked ass. Our quarterback, for a second-year guy, is completing, 75% plus of his passes, kicks ass. I'm happy with all of that. I want to see red zone development, obviously, heading forward.
So to answer Mark's question about the Siebert's record, this record 7 field goals, we've never come close to that. The franchise record, which we've been a franchise for a long time, 1932?
Correct.
5 field goals in a single game is the record, and that was set by Dustin Hopkins like in 2020, 2021, something like that. So
Yeah, it's a shame it took us that to get there. But just to piggyback on the offensive side of the ball, I think Mark hit the nail on the head. Is you don't get 7 field goal attempts without having 7 drives. only one of which I believe would not ever actually get into the red zone, and that was a 40 plus or maybe even a 50-yard kick. But we've been going back and forth quite a bit on the board, and we were going back and forth hard in BGO game chat yesterday. There was some consternation. I personally was getting a little frustrated because there was a lot of negativity, and at the end of the day, we're a second game into a complete rebuild, and the offense was effective, players were effective. We had 7 drives with no punts. When was the last time we had even sniffed that as a Washington fan? That means that there were no 3 and outs. There were how many third down conversions? I mean, the offense was effective and efficient. I think that that's something that you can really build on, even if the scoreboard didn't necessarily tell that story. You can clean up red zone. Of the 7 drives, what are the chances that in the current NFL the team can't get in at 1 of 7 times? I think it's more of a shock that we didn't get in than that we did. And God, I love B-Rob, but man, if he had 1 or 2 extra steps on that big run, he finishes that run and everybody's having a different conversation. So I was very happy with that part of the offense.
I think I said this in chat yesterday. I couldn't help but wonder if, and please understand, this is not me in any way, shape, or form blaming a guy that's only playing his second NFL game, right? Even if he is the most mature guy in his draft class and 23 and nobody can say a bad word about him. I'm not trashing him. I'm just wondering if maybe he changes something inside the red zone. Maybe the need to score is changing his cadence a little bit. I don't know. I remember one of the last ones, Sam Cosmi is who jumped. And as soon as the flag went and the whistle blew, Sam stopped and he stared at Jaden Daniels like, dude, what are you doing? It was just this weird moment. And I thought, I wonder what's going on. I wonder if Daniels is not quite as calm and collected inside the red zone as maybe he is the rest of the field. But Mark brought up some great points too, right? Maybe it's the play calling. Maybe we don't have all the red zone packages installed or they're worried about blitz pickups. I just don't know. But you're right, Derek. That's something that can be easily cleaned up.
Well, to their point, I just want to circle back to what Derek said, because he has been pretty strident about, people bitching about the rookies and et cetera. I just think you need to separate out in the moment. We're watching the game where it's the Giants again, who are absolutely god awful. They're not good. And we are still finding a way to piss the game away with essentially, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, with bonehead miscues. And it wasn't rookies having the miscues.
Right.
So I think that's different from saying, why aren't the rookies setting NFL rookie records in the first 2 weeks? I think everyone gets that. Hell, really, except for Jaden Daniels, the rookies haven't really been a part of the game in any kind of a big way yet. So,
but my struggle in the chat yesterday, not to go down, to peel back the onion here. My struggle in the chat yesterday was, if you came into this game 4 weeks ago, knowing what we've gone through, knowing everything that is new, I don't think it's fair to be frustrated that we're coming down to the final possession of the game. You know what I mean? Like, we all picked this on this podcast. I've got this. I have it written down and I've got it typed out. 24-21, 23-17, 23-17, 27-23, 4-4-3-3. We didn't expect a blowout. Like, honestly, you know what I mean?
But it easily could have been a blowout. I think
it should have been a blowout, but we all know better. Like, right? Like, everything and 5 procedure penalties on 5 consecutive drives into the red zone is absolutely maddening.
Yeah.
But guess what? I'm happy that is what was causing it, and not the fact that none of our guys can get open, or the fact that we can't sustain a drive when the game matters, or the fact that nobody on offense is pulling their weight. I mean, you can fix penalties. You can't fix being the worst team on the field. And we were not the worst team. We were by far the better team on the field yesterday.
So
the only thing that we have to clean up is the fact that we couldn't put it in the end zone.
So what did you guys like about? Let's talk about some of the good stuff because there was a lot of good stuff. What you guys hone in on as far as the kind of the best things that you saw?
I thought Jaden Daniels put in another good showing, and I think I think he looked even smoother than the first game, and he was pretty efficient. And then also, I think one form of our identity we're starting to see is the run game. I think we got two dogs back there in the run game. B-Rob, had like 133 or something like that. He was just trucking people. And then whenever Eckler comes in the game, he makes clutch plays, makes big plays. Then he's also explosive and tough too. I just always notice him when he comes into the game. And I think that combined with Anthony Lynn and his mindset and whatever influx he has in the run game, I think we might see more of that. And then especially as Jaden gets his feet wet and gets more acclimated, you can lean on that.
That one play where Eckler is headed towards the sideline and he takes a big shot from two Giants defenders and they both end up on the ground looking like they're nuts. And he's kind of standing there, I just thought that was awesome.
Yeah.
And he was airborne. He was elevated. So he was the one that was like, that you would think would be the one to take the bigger hit because he's the one that's vulnerable there.
And that
dude
laid out.
He caught a tree trunk is what he did. He did
Paul? Paul?
And I was just going to tag on to what Tony was saying in regards to Austin Eckler. I thought we used him exactly the way that he should be used within this offense. We're not running him between the tackles, so to speak. We're getting the ball to him in space. There was that really creative play on third down. It was a very, very short pass, and he just, took off and ran with it. I just thought his utilization yesterday was really effectively done. And essentially, he should be a complement to what we have in Brian Robinson, and that's exactly what he was yesterday. It was really, really well done.
Oh, also, he had a kickoff return for a touchdown. Not for that.
Should have been.
Penalty.
Yeah. So how much different, like hypothetically, not to sound terrible, but how much different does this game feel if that counts? I mean, honestly, like if you go up 7-0 there, and then this offense is as effective as it was, people right now are talking about this team could make the playoffs. I guarantee it. Sorry,
Derek. I thought the more impressive part in regards to that kickoff return was the fact that we actually rebounded from it. When that got called back, I was sitting there thinking that ball game, like we'll find a way to throw it away. But it was a really nice response overall by the team.
So I'm going to throw some nuggets out as we go through tonight. That was only the 7th time, again, in Washington history where we have won a football game without scoring a touchdown. The last time was way back in 2008. But it's only happened 7 times. So I guess we should consider ourselves really happy that they were able to pull it out with no touchdowns or no allowed touchdowns, I guess.
So something else that jumps out at me looking at the box score, I'm really thrilled with the fact that we spread the ball around. Right? 8 different guys were targeted. All 8 guys caught at least one ball. As opposed to looking at the New York Giants, they had 4 guys targeted. Out of 27 targets, Malik Neighbors got 18 of those. So what we're not, Daniels isn't honing in on one guy. Now I do notice this time around, Terry got more targets than anybody else, and he doubled up the next closest guy, which is really where I feel like we kind of want, our chief playmaker to be, right? He needs to be getting more looks at the ball than anybody else. And I was a little disappointed with that last week. I don't know if somebody got in Daniel's ear this week or if the play calling was different. It would be very interesting to know whether or not that's Daniels finding the second or third guy or whether that's Kingsbury calling specific plays for different guys in the offense. But I take a great deal of heart that we've got a 2-game quarterback finding 8 guys. That's cool.
I think the things that jumped out at me, two things jumped out at me that no one's mentioned yet. One of them is we crushed them in time of possession, 37 minutes and 32 seconds to 22 minutes and 28 seconds for the Giants. I mean, you're gonna win a lot of games if you are able to do that. And then the other thing I noticed is one of the kind of the hallmarks of the Rivera era was we'd have one good quarter, and then we'd get trucked in the next quarter, and then we might have a decent third quarter, and we get trucked again in the next quarter. There were never games where we just played consistently throughout the entire game. And yesterday on Sunday, we put up points in every single quarter, which, that's just not something that we've tended to do in the past 3 or 4 years. So I like seeing that.
Absolutely. And I go back to where I kind of, when we started leading this thing off, is that there was a lot to be positive about, even if the scoreboard only shows 21 and it's a laughable way to win a game, but you still won the game. Counts the same at the end of the season. I think offensively, we're seeing what we should see, and we're seeing what I think we want to see. Just to add on to this, now this is 2 weeks in a row. Against Tampa, if I'm not mistaken, 5 of our 7 drives resulted in points. Right?
Yeah, we've got a rookie quarterback who has, knock on wood, yet to throw an interception. And how many rookie quarterbacks go their first 2 weeks and never even sniff an interception? That's pretty impressive, I think.
If you take the kneel down out at the end of the half this past week, 5 last week plus 7 this week is 12 of our 14 drives this season have netted points.
Yeah.
Well, I think 2 of them last week were missed field goals. So at least field goal attempts. Let me rephrase that. It didn't net points, but it netted attempts.
I didn't like that we gave up 5 sacks in this game. That was I think some of them. Jaden Daniels did look like a rookie a couple of times in that game.
There was one that he pulled and he should have just threw it away, and he ran out of bounds 4 yards behind. I think that goes down as a sack. That was one. Jaden just throw the ball into the stands and move on. And I think there was another one that like somebody was open or something on a crossing pattern, and he kind of tucked it and tried to scramble. So that's going to be a learning curve, but I agree with you, John.
So interesting things league-wide, right, as compared to our rookie quarterback. Bo Nix has 4 INTs in 2 games. Anthony Richardson now has 4 INTs in 2 games. Jared Goff, a guy that played in the NFC Championship game last year, has 3. Mahomes, who won the Super Bowl, has 3. Tua has 3, and he's only played in a game and a third, roughly. Yeah. Other big Bryce Young has 3. Kirk Cousins has a pair. Dak Prescott got benched. A pair. Daniel Jones has 2, although sadly none of those were to us. I would really have liked to have seen that happen, right?
Yeah.
But Caleb Williams, the guy that went ahead of Daniels, has 2 this year. So, the kid's doing all right in that department. He's hanging on to the football, which is a real positive. I'm not thrilled with 7 sacks in 2 games. Those are Sam numbers.
Yeah, but Sam did it in half.
Yeah,
but 7.5.
But you spread that out over the course of a season. That's a lot of hits for a kid that's not carrying a lot of beef. So,
yeah. So, how about B-Rob, man? 133 yards, career high, including a 40-yarder. He just looked like a beast. That's the first game I've seen flashes from him, and he's had good games certainly. But I mean, he almost took that game over.
Oh yeah, there was one play he was like bottled up at the line of scrimmage, and he got past that. Yeah, and he just blew up the safety or whoever was coming up to tackle.
So why don't we shift to the defensive side of the ball? We'll let our brother from Bavaria start that off as well. See what Mark got to say.
Defensively, to me, it comes down to pass rush. I think our pass rush is not NFL level right now. Either the scheming up ain't working and we're not winning individually. If there's an early potential fatal flaw I see in this team in 2024, it's that we field zero pass rush, and that's going to be a big problem against better teams. So that was the in-game level, I think. Oh, and by the way, the poor guy who I'm assuming now is a former commander by the time you guys are watching this, to have an offense kick return for a touchdown nullified for an away from the play holding call. It didn't affect the play. That's not the hold that released Eckler for a 98-yard touchdown return. And then on the next opportunity, he gets a personal foul of some sort that gives the Giants field position out near midfield. Two plays that arguably cost 14 points, right? One on the kick return, and you give the Giants the ball at midfield practically on the next one. You can't have that stuff. So special teams, that was my only issue there. But, we had 7 field goals, so that's a good thing. Defensively, going to have to fix the pass rush, or it's going to be a long season as teams start to figure that out. Offensively, let Jaden be Jaden down in the red zone, let things start happening. That's how I felt about this game. Big picture, I could not be happier to have watched Jaden Daniels, particularly in the second half, start throwing the ball downfield. You learn how to win, right, before you get good. I know somebody smart has said that before. How many of us would have been surprised if, when the Giants are driving down at 2 minutes to go with the game tied and they're going for a game-winning touchdown, that do you think Neighbors drops that ball in years past? No. On fourth down, he makes that catch, and they end up punching it in with 30 seconds left, and then we flail around trying to get a dramatic touchdown in the end and lose. How many times have we seen that happen against the Giants? Instead, dude drops the pass. We get an opportunity. What do we do with it? This kid quarterback stands in and throws a beautiful strike down the field over the middle. We go right down the field routinely, set up a routine field goal, make the field goal without any penalties, and walk off with the win. That's progress. Having watched Jaden play the way he did, big picture, I just could not be happier with what I'm seeing from the potential of this team. So for the rest of the season, let's see progress. Let's see progress. Let's see us eliminate the stupid penalties, and let's see us try to figure out a way to get some pass rush. And that's what I have to say about this one.
So I told you guys not to worry last week I had Malik Neighbors on my fantasy team, and I was proven correct that he would not be the one to ruin the day for us. So
he got damn close though. It's not like he. How many targets did you say he had? 18 targets, Bob. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, 18 targets.
Yeah.
And on those 18 targets, he had 10 receptions for 127 and a TD.
What'd you guys think of the defense in this one overall?
This is gonna sound really strange for me to even say this, but to be honest with you, I actually felt better about the coverage, and I thought our biggest liability was up the middle. I mean, Malik Neighbors, they were going to face wide receivers that are dudes. We're going to face wide receivers that are dudes that are just going to have their day. Mike Evans is one of them, okay? Benjamin St. Juste got roasted last week, when in reality, if you look at him, the majority of the time, he was in position. Mike Evans is just Mike Evans, okay? Now, I'm not saying he's a Pro Bowl caliber corner or anything, and I still think we need to address the position in the offseason, but I'm not going to look at him either and say he got roasted. I would almost say the same thing about this game. In the first half, there were a couple breakdowns, but in the second half, there were multiple plays that were made by the secondary. I want to say St. Juste had a big knockdown down one sideline. I think Noah I had one also. Bobby Wagner had one over the middle. So there were a handful of coverage plays that I think we actually looked better on, but things still need to get fixed with some of the big plays. Neighbors, like you said, with his numbers, he torched us on a handful. I think our biggest liability was I got tired of watching Singletary, who is not exactly a between the tackles running back, take the middle of the field and do whatever the hell he wanted to do with it whenever he wanted to do it. John, you have been critical of John Allen up to this point, and I'm starting to ask the same questions you are. Allen and Payne, you're my big boys. Where you at? We can't have that and be any kind of sustainable winner in the future.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised at the rushing defense. I did want to say, Tony gave Frankie Louvu his Frankie, I love you, his nickname, and that guy, he played tough yesterday. I think he had 11 tackles, 1 for a loss, 9 tackles, no, 11 tackles, yeah. So I mean, he played well. I thought Wagner is always going to be solid, but and I think you're right. I think St. Juste. I think he had the one play where I wanted to strangle him, but overall he looked pretty good. I thought that was one of his better games as a pro.
Yeah, I think one thing they cleaned up was not getting beat over the top. Like Neighbors was beating him, but it wasn't like over the top bombs. Or Jalen Hyde didn't get back there like I thought he might. So that was good. Frankie Louvu, or as Paul called him, Frankie, I love you. He was blasting dudes. He was all over. But yeah, like Derek, I was kind of surprised at just how easily they just ran up the middle. And so yeah, so I don't know what's going on with the tackles there, and hopefully they'll clean that up. And I know the Giants suck, but in today's NFL, if you hold a team to 18 points, you should win the game. And so that was a good sign. So it was a mixed bag. St. Juste, like you guys said, has played a lot better today, or in the game, and caused that fumble, which was big too. So yeah, kind of a mixed bag, but I think we're getting incrementally better.
So interesting stat. Benjamin St. Juste is currently 4th in the leagues in passes defensed.
He forced a fumble yesterday too, Bob.
And that was a textbook. Yeah, Tony that was what I was going to lead with, and then Tony beat me to it. That was a textbook.
Yeah,
that was the kind of thing we're used to seeing happen to us, not us actually due to other teams.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, that is the one turnover that accounts for our +1. We haven't turned the ball over yet this season, I don't think, have we? I missed last week.
No, we have not.
Yeah, so we're +1 in the turnover column thanks to Benjamin St. Juste and that brilliant play.
I know it's only week 2, but if we're talking about concerns with our defense, for myself personally, I'm looking for some sort of evidence of an identity being established. And we've heard Joe Witt talk about, physicality, violence, just becoming a nasty unit overall. And I'm not seeing it across the board quite yet. A few of you brought it up. Luvu's been a guy who's been a wrecking ball so far. You always see him demonstrating that physicality, that violence. I'm not seeing it overall amongst the entire unit yet. And granted, again, it's week 2. Things take time, but I want to see a little bit more in that regard.
Yeah, I agree. I think almost everybody's touched on it, but I think the biggest concern at this point has got to be our 2 highest paid defenders are Allen and Payne, and teams are pushing the ball up the middle on us, and we're not getting much in the way of a pass rush up the middle either. I kind of expected with Quinn and Witt coming in, I kind of expected to see at least Payne revert to more of his form from a couple of years ago. Yeah. And I'm beginning to wonder if the concept of he got paid and now it is what it isn't more realistic. I don't know. But yeah, Mark said it. We're not getting a pass rush, and we don't have the secondary to hold up all season. If this were the Philadelphia Eagles, we're in trouble. Dallas Cowboys, we're in trouble. We've got to be able to get to the quarterback, and we're not doing it yet.
I don't know if we'll see him. I don't know whether it'll happen at the Bengals game on next Monday night or not, but Newton was actually on the active roster, and that's the guy that I'm really curious to see what he can do and whether he's going to be a difference maker. And again, he's a rookie, like Derek reminds us, so we got to keep that in mind. But he's probably one of the guys I'm most excited to see out there.
Yeah, he was out there some. So I wonder, they'll increase his workload as the season progresses.
One other thing, we were talking about records with the field goals. Did you guys realize that the Giants set a record too?
No.
They're the first team in NFL history to score 3 touchdowns, not surrender a touchdown, and lose the football game.
Nice.
So
Good.
put that one on someone else's benchmark, because how many times have we been the
Yeah. He's usually on the other end of like weird fluky stats like that.
Well,
right?
I think somewhere I
And-
read we scored more points than 18 other teams in the NFL this weekend without putting the ball in the end zone.
Yep.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
God bless the New Orleans Saints. I just don't want us to go much farther without acknowledging that.
Absolutely. One other thing while we are finishing up with this game. Once again, I have to point out my frustrations with the lack of consistency with the refs. Jaden Daniels took a semi-cheap shot on the sidelines.
That was ridiculous.
Yeah.
I would bet you 95% of the time, if that's somebody wearing our colors and that's a quarterback of another team, there's a flag.
Where's the automatic review on that one? Like, where's the I'm going to punt?
Yeah.
New York, get
Yeah.
involved. Where is that?
Exactly.
I don't understand that, man.
I'm not going to sit here and even say I think it should have been a penalty, in the sense that I believe it was a dirty hit or anything like that.
Derek,
it was
it would have
very
been a
close.
penalty. It would have been a penalty if it wasn't a quarterback.
But if it had, but my point, and to your point, John, and beyond that, if it was against us, we would have been flagged. And I don't think that can be argued. I think we've all seen it enough times that if that was against us and we were the team on defense, there would have been a penalty on the play. The overwhelming majority of the time. So, again, as for the frustrations this time, luckily it didn't bite us. Again, also with the penalty, like Mark talked about on the kick return, the phantom blocking penalty that didn't bite us. At some point, maybe it's consistently bad across the entirety of the NFL, and we're just seeing it more, and it's more emotional because it's against our team. But damn, this refereeing something's got to give, because it's affecting games now.
Yeah, I think the NFL makes a lot of noise about players that are giving themselves up, not allowing those vicious hits when the player's defenseless. He's halfway out of bounds, and you lay into him. That's just ridiculous, man. And I the other thing I want to add to what you said, Derek, is one thing I don't like is I want to see our coaches going absolutely ballistic when that kind of shit happens. I don't want to see them over there folding their arms or finger waving the official over for a chat. I want to see them losing their ever loving mind on the sideline, because I think it warrants that. And I think when coaches do that, it has an impact. Anyway, that's the only thing I was disappointed about is, we got the Rivera crossed arms thing going on. Show some emotion and back your player up in those situations. I don't know.
I agree. So, on to Monday Night Football against one struggling Bengals team. I don't know if you guys have been following these guys, but they have not been playing very well. And I hate to say it, we might be a get-right game, but we'll see what happens. But
so, Derek, I looked at their record last year. They have lost, including their 0-2 start. They've lost, let's see. They have lost 9 of the last 11, I believe. And let's see. I'm sorry, I had it written down here. They're 0-2, already 2 games back from the Steelers in the AFC North. And like I said, they lost 5 of the last 9 in 2023, and 2 of the wins they had were in overtime. So they easily could be 7 of 9 coming into this year, and then they lost the last 2. So they're on a rough stretch. Now the flip side of that is they're in last place. They finished in last place last year, which is hard to believe when you got Joe Burrows as your quarterback, although I know he missed time last year. But they're kind of in desperation mode coming into that Monday Night Football game. I think the NFL says like 6% of teams that are 0-2 make the playoffs. It's not a very high number. So we're kind of catching them at not an ideal time in terms of they almost have to win on Monday night. But anyway, yeah, they've lost 7 of the last 11. That's rough. The last time we played them, we beat them in over. I think we beat them by a couple of touchdowns, but that was a while back.
Yeah, that was when John Allen went through Joe Burrow's leg, if I'm not mistaken, and tore his ACL and his MCL in his rookie season. And so they were playing Burrowless, if I remember correctly. Was that also Chase Young tackling Burrow from behind to save a touchdown and forcing a fumble? Is that the last time we played them?
I think so.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes,
In
it
his
is.
rookie year? Okay, gosh, it's been that long. Anyways, to your point, John, not only are they going to be kind of backed into a corner, they're talented as hell.
Mm-hmm.
So even if they're struggling, they have the ability to beat anybody on any given game.
Yeah.
I personally thought they were going to have a bounce back season this year. They lost to a struggling. I shouldn't say struggling. They lost to a New England team that was supposed to be a doormat. And then they lost by a field goal with some help from the referees to the Chiefs over the weekend. So I'm
Burrow's
sure
got
they're not
like a strip sack fumble or something, wasn't there, for a touchdown in that game? I think.
Yeah, there was a couple questionable plays when it comes to one of them, the guy bounced the ball up in the air and the Chiefs recovered it, if I'm not mistaken, ran it back for a touchdown, and it was questionable and some other things going on. So we can't take them lightly. We'll get into predictions later, but this is not one I'm going into feeling the same way I did against the Giants, even though they're 0-2.
Yeah, no. This is, I mean, they took Kansas City down to the wire. Kansas City needed a field goal with nothing left on the clock to win that game.
Mm-hmm.
So Cincinnati is 0-2, but they are 0-2 by the absolute slimmest of margins. And the game that they lost most recently is to the defending Super Bowl champions.
Yeah.
And arguably the best player in the league right now. Let's just say that in the BGO pool, I'm probably picking the Bengals. Just my thought process there.
On a positive note, though, if we want to have any hope of beating these guys, we really need to step it up on third down. One of Cincinnati's struggles this year has been their third down offensive efficiency. They are 8 of 24. I think my math says that is 33% that they're converting on. So, I mean, we need to put those guys in third and long situations if we want to have any sort of hope to go in there and steal a win.
Yeah, the other thing that jumps out looking at the first 2 games, and again, you got to be careful about drawing conclusions from the first 2 games. But they're not rushing the ball well. They're averaging 72 yards a game on the ground compared to we're averaging 176 yards rushing by comparison. So doesn't mean they won't be able to rush against us, but they're putting a lot of their eggs in the passing game, and not really trying to commit a lot to the rushing attack. And they're also not putting a lot of points up. They're putting less points up per game than we are so far. They're at like 17.5, and we're averaging 20 points a game. So again, kind of meaningless stats because it's all about next Monday, not the previous 2 weeks. But they're not playing to their potential, I guess, is what I think you could say up so far. And that could change on Monday night, though.
No, and I had some time in hotel rooms this last week, so I tend to watch a lot of junk sports programs, typically about the NFL this time of year, right? and everybody was talking about Cincinnati, and I heard words thrown around about their defense, about lacking intensity, lazy, giving up on stuff. The Kansas City, a team not necessarily known for rushing the ball, had 149 yards on the ground against Cincinnati last night or yesterday. I don't know. Was it the night game? No, it was an afternoon game, wasn't it? They had more yards on the ground than Patrick Mahomes had in the air. after sacks. So Mahomes had a very non-Mahomes kind of a day. He only threw for 151, but they rushed for 149. That says to me that Eckler and Robinson and hopefully to a lesser degree Daniels are going to be very important in terms of what they do on the ground Monday night. That could be a, that runs the clock down, that keeps their offense off the field. All the things that you talk about when you're typically a weaker football team, things that you want to do, shorten the game, keep their best players sitting on the bench, all that fun kind of stuff. So,
one thing I think this game's gonna look a lot like Tampa did. I hate to say that, but what I mean by that is that you have weapons on the outside that are going to be more in line with what we saw against Tampa versus what we saw with New York. I don't see them running the ball up the middle. I think this game is going to come down to if we're going to be able to contain Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins.
And well, T. Higgins has been hurt, but I assume he'll probably play. The guy that scares me a little bit is Mike Gesicki because he's really been their most consistent tight end receiver.
All right. Well, I mean, I guess we can just roll straight into predictions. Bob, what do you think is going to happen?
Ooh, put me right on the spot.
Well, you already kind of leaked what
I
you
did.
think.
I did. And if I'm not mistaken, this is an away game, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we're in
Cincinnati.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Monday Night Football.
Cincinnati. So I'm going to go with the Bengals, and I think
we'll probably wear our black uniforms since they have black in their uniforms. Just saying.
I think I think Jamar Chase shows the league why he should have gotten a contract this summer and didn't, and maybe he takes his frustration out on the Washington defense. I'm going to say Bengals 31-17.
John, what do you got?
So this week in our NFL Pick'em contest, I led everybody by picking like the craziest upsets ever because I had such a terrible first week, and I just got lucky because everyone else, who made reasonable picks, did horribly by comparison. But and I have that urge. We've only played the Bengals 11 times in the entire history of the two franchises. We're 5-5-1. So that's about as even as you can get. I just can't pick us with any kind of a logical brain because I just think even though they haven't performed up to their talent level last season and this season so far, I think they've got a lot of weapons, and Joe Burrow, when he's playing well, is a pretty damn good quarterback. Not digging the new hairstyle, but nevertheless, I think he's going to be hard to stop. And with our defensive backfield, even though they played a little better, that's kind of a scary proposition. So I can't pick us this week. I've got the Bengals winning like 27-19. However, I think what you were talking about a few minutes ago about running ball control, and especially because they're not, they don't have a great run defense. I think if we could keep the time of possession numbers similar to this past Sunday, we would have a chance at pulling an upset. And I think anytime a team that has to win is playing somebody that they don't really realistically think they can lose to, it can sort of be a little bit of a trap game. But I got to pick the Bengals 27-19.
Tony, you're written down next. What do you got?
All right. Yeah, whether the Bengals are 0-2 or 2-0 or 1-1, it's a tall task for us to go there and win on Monday night. And I think, Burrow and they just got a lot of weapons, whether you're a good defense or not. I think we lose this one 30-20. It wouldn't be like out of the realm of possibility for us to win. Like if we were playing like the Chiefs, I don't see how we could beat them right now. But I mean, there are avenues for us to win this game, but I just don't see it on Monday night. And on defense, the Bengals also have their own number 91 white guy defensive end who tries hard and has a motor all day, and Hendrickson, who's pretty good, and then some other good players too. So, I think, we don't get embarrassed, but I don't think we can win. I don't think we'll pull this one out.
Paul?
So I tried to give myself a little bit of optimism that we can win this week, and I tried to convince myself that it can happen. Unfortunately, when you look at some of the numbers, I don't see how the puzzle pieces fit together for us this coming Monday in Cincinnati. I'm going to be a little long-winded here, but I think you'll hopefully get my message. I think it ultimately comes down to being able to stop Jamar Chase. He's got 10 catches, 97 yards on a year. He's used to putting up numbers way bigger than that on a weekly basis. So I think he's primed for a breakout week. I look back at last year when we played top flight wide receivers. I'll give you a few examples. Tyreek Hill had 157 receiving yards against us last year. AJ Brown, oh my gosh, he had 2 games where he went over 130 yards receiving against us. DJ Moore had 230 yards receiving against us. Cooper Kupp, 111 yards. I mean, the list goes on and on. When we played those, better wide receivers, we constantly struggled, and I don't see any reason to believe why that's not going to happen again this week. I mean, St. Juste was fine this past week. Michael Davis, huge liability from what I can see. I just don't see how we stop Jamar Chase this week. He's, again, he needs that breakout game, and I don't think it's going to be close. I'm going to say 34-17 Cincinnati.
If we could find a pass rush, it might be a different story. That's what's so disappointing, as Mark was, did a good job of talking about. It's like, where's the pass rush?
Mm.
All right. I've crossed out my number and I've changed it like 3 times, so I'm just going to go with this one. Cincinnati's going to win, I think. You guys have all made the points. I kind of made the point before we got going. I think this game is going to look more like Tampa Bay, where the ball's in the air a lot more, plays are made, than it is with New York, where it was kind of a grinding situation with a couple plays trickled in here and there. I do think we're able to move the ball better and we can punch in a couple scores. Ultimately, I think it's Cincinnati 31, Washington 24, and that 24 probably comes a little later in the game, somewhere in the fourth quarter to seal it or to bring it a little within 1 score, where they probably feel a little more comfortable, as the game's progressing. I would love to see us control the ball for 37 minutes. I think if we're going to win, that's how it's going to happen. I think if we can handle the ball for 37 minutes and we don't give up scores in 3-minute drives, that's ultimately the way it's going to end up. But yeah, Cincinnati 31, Washington 24, and I think we still continue to see positives from the offense. I think, just so I'll put it out there, I still think we're going to be frustrated with the defense. I don't think it's going to get solved in 1 week. I think we're going to see some more of that. So I'm just preparing myself that it's going to take some time.
The Bengals are 26th in the league through 2 weeks in stopping the run. So I think that
bodes well for us.
Yeah.
Well,
something I wanted to point out to you guys. I just shared it on as we wrap this thing up. I just shared it on BGO in the Random Commander's Thoughts thread. There's a video that goes along with it. Is that as of what time? At 8:15 tonight, so about an hour ago, the Commanders unveiled the new Walter Blackie Wetzel Memorial inside Northwest Stadium. The team is crediting Wetzel for creating the iconic Warrior logo. Ryan Wetzel, I guess, is a descendant of Walter Blackie Wetzel, told us today it was the first step in the right direction with our relationship with the Commanders. I think it's cool. I would go watch the video because it's more than there's a pretty cool looking plaque that's got a dedication to him, as well as a mural on the wall, if I'm not mistaken. So I do want to point out that once again, these guys seem to get it. You know what I mean? They tore down the mannequin. They're putting up the Sean Taylor statue. Now they're crediting the person for creating the logo that 5 years ago we were told was racially insensitive. They're not. They don't.
And the display includes the logo.
Correct.
It's not blurred out.
It's not blurred out, and there are Redskin logos all over that stadium in murals and at the park. Yep. So I think these guys understand, and I think that it is refreshing to see things like this where we as fans, has been our argument for how long when it comes to not changing the name and not changing the logo, is that it was developed and created by a Native American. It was done with the mentality to pay homage and to be supportive in the warrior and in power and strength in everything that comes with the Native American tribes. So the fact that they're doing this and not they're not submitting, I shouldn't say that, but they're going out of their way to pay tribute to something that we have all grown up supporting. I just think it was really cool, and I just wanted to point it out before we signed off.
So we got to get Mark's prediction in, man, all the way from Bavaria. So let's see what he has to say before we sign off tonight.
We are stepping up in weight class this weekend against on a Monday night game against an 0-2 Joe Burrow-led Cincinnati Bengals. Ain't nobody going to be betting on the Commanders in this game, and I suspect the spread, if it isn't already, it might even be up to a touchdown or something. I wouldn't bet my money on the Commanders on this one, particularly because we don't rush the passer. I mentioned that before. I think that's a fatal flaw in this game. Burrow's good even against the pass rush. He pretty much had the Chiefs beat in their house. It took a little miraculous Chiefs magic and help from officials for the Chiefs to pull that one out. I would like to see our defense stay competitive and get some stops. And I would like to see Jaden operate against a pass rush that is going to be coming. They're going to be coming after him, and he's going to need to protect himself. I do not see the Commanders. I'd like to see us be competitive, and I think we'll make a game of it. But no, I am not picking us to win this one. I think Burrow ends up by the end of with 3 touchdowns and 300-plus yards. I'm looking at like a 31-20 Cincinnati win.
All right, so no surprise there from Mark. I think we all figured that was probably coming, but now he's on record anyway.
So, John, you're the only one that doesn't pick us to give up 30. You have us only giving up 27.
We are 7.5 point underdogs right now. I think that could go up even higher.
So you know that this means that because Redskins, we're going to go in there and we're probably going to win this game by a last-second field goal or something, right? Like, because how many times Pittsburgh, they were undefeated. We went into their house on a short week. Philly, they were undefeated. We went into their house on a Monday night game or a Thursday night or whatever it was.
We haven't played a complete game yet, and we may not play a complete game for quite a while as far as the offense and defense both playing well.
Both sides of the ball, yeah.
But who knows what could happen if we were to ever see that, so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, how electric would it be if we did win?
Oh my gosh! Are you kidding me? Jaden Daniels MVP, right?
Yeah,
like
on Monday night. Oh my god!
No, it's gonna be crazy. All right, boys. Well, I guess we'll reconvene. We'll look to reconvene on Tuesday night because we're not going to do it during the game. I would imagine that would be a bad idea and pretty boring.
That might be a little distracting.
So we'll reshoot next week on Tuesday night, and then we'll have that up late about this time Tuesday for viewing. So please come back, like, subscribe if you made it this far. Please hang around, jump on bgobsession.com, and absolutely join in the conversation.
Come be negative in our chat room with us next Monday.
That's right, and I'll yell at you and I'll pout and take my ball and go home. So, all right, boys.
Night, guys.
It's been real. I'll see you next week.
Later.